Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of with Code Arena. Today's lesson we will be discussing Java basic syntax. On this lesson we're going to be discussing several things. We're going to be having the knowledge of what a class is, how to define a class, objects, examples of objects, how to define objects, methods, defining a method, the main method, data types, types of data types, types of primitive data types, the variables, how to declare variables, and so on and so forth, access a specifier, comments and exceptions. But first of all, before you can start writing a Java program, you need to understand what a class is. And when we say a class, what is a class? A class can be defined as a template that defines the behavior or states or attributes of an object. When I mean a template, I'm talking about like an environment that tells you the behavior of an object. Now that's a class. Now, how do we define a class? Maybe how do we define it? To define a class, you start by writing what? A class, then a class name with a curly bracket, then you end with a curly bracket. Don't forget, we have the class name, an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket. Now, where this class name is the name you wish to give your class. I come again. To define a class, you have to write an exact code as the class, then your class name, opening bracket and the curly bracket. You can give this class name any name you wish, but you must first start with what? A class. And note, your class, which is C, is a small letter. Now let's continue. What's an object? Now when we say an object is an instance of a class and has a unique identity. An instance of a class that has a unique identity. Now what does that mean? We can actually say an object has states and behavior. That means when we look at real life, an object actually has a state and it has a behavior. See that the state of an object can actually be talking about the physical appearance of the object. The state of an object can actually be talking about what you can actually denote from the object. While the behavior of the object is actually the attitude, it's actually the actions that object can actually perform. Now, let's look at an example. For example, a dog. Let's use a dog as an example. A dog has a state. Now, when we say the state of a dog, we're talking about what? The color. We're talking about what? The name of the dog. We're talking about what? The breed. Now, those are the states of the dog. The dog is an object. Now, when we say the behavior of the dog, then we're talking about what? Waggling its tail. A dog waggling its tail. We're talking about a dog barking. Now, we're talking about a dog hitting. Now, these three can also be said to be the behavior of the object dog. While these three can actually be said to be the state of the object dog. Now, I hope you understand what an object is in Java program. An object actually has a state and a behavior. Now, let's go further by what? Telling us how to define an object. How do we define an object in a class? Now, to define an object in a class, you start by writing the class name, the object name equals to new, the class name, your parentheses and your semicolon. The class name, which is the name of the class, your object name, which is the name you wish to give the object, and the word, and the equals to new and the class name, and your parentheses and semicolon. Now, let's move further by discussing what a method is. When we say a method is basically a behavior. Now, don't forget I said an object actually has state and behavior. Now, that behavior is the method you are actually ascribing to the object. Now, a class can contain many methods. It is in this method that the logics are written, data is manipulated, and all the actions are executed. What do I mean? It is in this method you have the actions that you want your object to actually perform. when we use the dog as an example for it, we want the behavior of the object are what? Hitting. So it is a method. It's in the method you write your code to actually make the object, the dog, to eat. It is in the method you write your code to make the dog waggle his tail. It is in the object you have in your code. It's in the method you have your code, sorry, to make the dog bark. Now, this method actually is basically the behavior of an object. Now let's move further by what? Defining the method. How do we define the method? To define the method, we use what? Void, the method name, the opening, the parenthesis, the opening curly brace bracket, then we close it with a curly brace bracket. Now the void, the method name, parenthesis, opening curly brace bracket, and a close curly brace bracket. Now within this opening and close curly brace bracket are codes to define the object, to define the behavior of the object is written. That is where our code to define the behavior of the object are actually written. Now we're going to see some of this by the time we begin the practical. Now let's move further by knowing what a main method is. Now one thing about a main method is that for every Java class there should always be a main method. Now a main method, this is where the execution of the code starts from. This is where it is from this main method Java actually executes all codes. This main method invoke all other methods in a class. Now for example, how do you write a main method? You write by using what? Public static void main string, your square bracket, then args, closing of parentheses, opening of curly brace bracket, then you close your curly brace bracket. Now this is a simple way of writing a main method. This is a simple way of writing the main method. In this main method, we define our object. Like you've seen it previously, how did we define the object? So in this main method, we define our object. Now let's move further by knowing what a data type is. Okay, also note that this main method calls the method of all the method defined in a class. Yes, like I've said it now, it calls all the method defined in a class. Now, what is a data type? A data type is a keyword that are assigned to a variable to define its type for operation. Keyword, note that, keyword that are assigned to a variable to define its type for operation. Now that's the data type. You are trying to assign a variable. You are trying to assign a variable what kind of operation it should perform. Now we've not discussed what the variable is, but now let's move into what's okay before then. But let's listen. Look at this. Say there are keywords that tell the compiler what kind of values are to be stored in a variable. Keywords that tell the compiler that okay, this particular variable should hold this particular kind of data, because we have several types of variable, and that is what we're going to be discussing next. For example, okay, types of data types. We have the primitive data type, we have the reference data types, and we have the abstract data types. Now these three data types are the major data types we have, but we're going to be basically talking about the primitive data type. Now the types of primitive data type we have the integer data types. Now when we say the integer data types, they are the ones that store whole number values. Now example are the hint data type, are the byte data type, we have the short data type, and we have the long data type. These four data types are used to store integer or whole number values. They are used together with a variable to store integer value. When any one of these data types are used with a variable, you are actually telling the compiler that this particular variable is storing whole number values. I hope you've gotten it. Now, next we have the floating data type. Floating data types, they store fractional values. Fractional values, when I mean fractional values, I mean decimal numbers. And the syntax for writing floating data types, we use the double and we use the float. Now either of these two are used with a variable to actually tell the compiler that this particular variable stores fractional value. Don't forget, fractional value means decimal numbers. Now the third one, we have the Boolean data types. The Boolean data types are data types that store true or false value. And to write this, we make use of the syntax bool. Bool is a syntax in Java that is used to write to define a variable as a variable that stores true or false value. And lastly, the types of primitive data type we have is the character data types. This character data type, they store only symbols such as letters or numbers. Symbols like a single character, either L, A, 2, or a dollar sign. All these characters are used together with syntax char. Char is used with a variable to actually declare a variable that stores character data types. And don't forget, by the time you are assigning variables to character data types, it is always enclosed in a single quote. Always enclosed in a single quote. Now let's go further by knowing what a variable is. What is a variable? A variable is the name, note, the name that refers to a memory location where data are stored, where data values are stored. A memory location that refers to where data values are stored. That is a variable. A variable is the name that refers to a memory location where data values are stored. What do I mean? Any name that you want to actually impute data values to hold the value of that data is called a variable. Now, how do we declare a variable? To declare a variable, you make use of the data type, then the variable name, then end it with a semicolon. Don't forget we've discussed what the data type is. Now, data type, variable name, and a semicolon. For example, I want to create a variable to store the age of people. Now, I'll write it as int age and a semicolon. What does that mean? You can't tell me that age store decimal values, or you can't tell me that age store character values. Age actually store number values. Now, those number values, don't forget I said integer data types are data types that store whole number values. And since my age are in whole number values, I use the data type int. So int is a data type that has been ascribed to the variable name age. So which means I'm telling my compiler that age stores whole number values. Now let's go further. What are the rules for naming a variable? Now the first thing you must consider when naming a variable is that a variable must be without space or symbol. A variable must not contain a symbol or space when writing a variable. A variable must not start with a digit. You must not always start the variable with a digit. Now, and lastly, a variable must either begin with a letter or an underscore or a dollar sign. You want to write a variable, either begin with variable with a letter or underscore or a dollar sign, but most times it is advisable you use a letter. And let's go further by telling us what the types of variables we have. And when we say we have various types of variables, we have two different types of variables. We have the global variable, and what do I mean by the global variable? The global variable are the kind of variable that is declared immediately after the class. Look at that word statement, immediately after the class, and can be used throughout the entire class. Any variable that is declared immediately you've defined your class, like the class name, your opening brace brackets, and the next thing you do was to declare a variable. That variable declared is called a global variable. Now the second type of variable we have is the local variable. Now this local variable is declared inside a method and can be only used in the method alone. That's why it is called local. Sometimes it's called static. Static variable or local variable are the variables that are declared inside a method and can be used in that method only. Any elsewhere cannot be. Any elsewhere you call that method, that variable, it's an error will be thrown. So that is the two types of variable we have. Now let's see, for example, examples of global variable. Look at this class name. Class example int number, and we have the closing curly bracket. Now this is our class, where example is the name of our class. Now immediately we've defined our class, we went further by declaring a variable. To declare a variable is to tell the processor that you have a variable which is going to store a particular data value, which is ascribed by your data type. And in this case we are having int integer, and the variable is number, which means what? You are telling our compiler that a variable has been defined which is called number, and number will store a whole number value. Now this kind of variable is called a global variable, because inside this our code, whatever we are using, whatever we are writing, by the time we call this number, an error will not be thrown because it is global. It is meant to run throughout the entire code in a class. Now example of local variable, look at this class. We have a class example, opening curly bracket, and we have void main, my method, open parenthesis and the closing of the curly bracket, open another curly bracket, and we have a hint number, closing the closing. Now what does this mean? We have a class. Immediately after defining a class, we declare a method. We define a method. We discussed a method earlier and how to declare a method. We have a void, then we have a method name, then the parenthesis, then open curly bracket. And inside this method we declared a variable. Now note, this variable declared can never be used outside this method. Now let's go further by discussing what access specifiers are. Now when we say access specifiers are what gives us the accessibility to actually access any of our codes, either class, method or object. And we have different types of access specifier. We have the public, we have the private, we have the protected, and we have the friendly or package. Now these are the four major access specifiers we have. Now let's go further by discussing what comments are. Now when we say comments are actually a brief explanation or a description to a section of a code. Now note, a good programmer will always comment in his or her code, because when you are writing any code, either in any program language, always place comments in a particular section of your code to tell the reader, to explain, to give a further explanation to the reader. Now comments are of two types. We have the single line comments, and the single line comments is written as what? You have a double forward slash before your comment. A double forward slash is written first before your comment. Now in this case, your compiler does not see what this is, does not understand what this comment is, so it skips and it doesn't run it. So writing double forward slash tells the compiler that this particular statement is a comment. Now the second type of comment we have is a block comment. That means a comment that does not actually take one line, a comment that takes several lines, 2 to 3 lines. Now block comments are written by what? Having a forward slash, then your double star, then write your comments, whether a paragraph or whatever, then you close it with your double slash, then your double star and your forward slash. Now let's go further by discussing what an exception is, or error. I hope you are taking note of all these things down, because if you know I'm too fast, you can actually rewind the video to get some notations, to get some notes, some points down, or you can pause the video to get some points down. Now what are exceptions? And when we see exceptions are actually, they are abnormal occurrences that prevent the normal execution of a program. Anything that stops the normal execution of a program are called exceptions, or they are called error. And we have two types of exceptions. Now those two types of exceptions we have are the compile time exceptions. And when we say the compile time exceptions, these are the exceptions that are as a result of syntax error. Syntax error means what? Maybe misspelled of a particular word, you misspell a word, or a particular code is not written properly. They are the exceptions that are generated immediately during the process of writing your code. So these compile time exceptions are exceptions that are generated when writing your code. They throw an error immediately. But we also have the runtime exception. This runtime exception are exceptions that are generated during the execution of the program. You can't actually see this exception when you are writing your code, because the compiler have compiled your code to be correct, but it is during the execution of your program a runtime exception is generally occurred. That is why in this case we mostly use a try and a catch. Now you're going to understand what the try and catch is when we begin to write code further. Now enough of this discussion, enough of the theories, and enough of the explanation. Now let's move into the practical aspect. Now in this practical aspect, you're going to be making use of your system, and you're going to be making use of your writing material. Now I urge every one of you to sit back and relax and listen carefully as we go further, as we write our code. Now let's write our first program. Now in this first program we're going to write in, we're going to start with a simple Java programming code, which is to perform an arithmetic operation. Now what kind of arithmetic operation are we discussing here? It's just a normal addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now these four basic operations are what we're going to be using, we're going to be programming this day with our Java. Now sit back and relax as we write. Now to begin writing our codes, don't forget we're using a text editor called the NetBeans, and I hope every one of us have installed our NetBeans on our system. Now in the case here, I've installed my NetBeans on my own system, and now I've clicked on my NetBeans and I'm waiting for it to load. Okay, so now we have a NetBeans. This is the start page of a NetBeans, and this is how it's going to look like. This is how the interface is going to look like. Now let's begin with the following process. First of all, you go to your file, because normally we are writing a class file, so we're going to start with writing new. Or better still, since we have no Java class here, we can as well go to new projects, then click on our Java. Then since we're not starting with the Java application yet, let's start with the Java class. So have a Java class. Or better still, okay, let's have a Java class. Then next, and let's name our Java class to be Arithmetic. Sorry, that's an error. Okay, Arithmetic. Now we click on finish and wait for it to load our class. Don't forget what part of the JVM does this. That's the word class loader. Loading. Okay, now we have our arithmetic projects created. Now when you expand it, we have our source packages and our library. Now under you have a default packages, we have a close. So what we do in this case, our class has not been created, so we right click on the arithmetic or the source package, then we click on new and we click on Java class. Don't forget source packages, right click, new, Java class. Now clicking on Java class, we have to create a new Java name, a class name. Since we have arithmetic as the name of the project, we create our class to be ARITMETIC operation. Okay, and then click on finish and we'll wait for it. Now we have our class created for us. Now if you have noticed this, the first thing you notice on your class once your class has been created is that you find comments. Now what kind of comment do I call this? This is a block comment, and block comment, like I said, starts with your / then your star, then end with your star and your /. Now in any case you can make it double or any. Now this is our comment. Now let's leave the comment alone and let's move to our class. Now look at this. What do I call this? Public. Now this public is what in this case is our access specifier. Now what does this public does? This public does is trying to you are actually saying that this our class, our entire class, should be made public, to external classes, to external sources. Now that is the function of this public access specifier. Now how do we define a class? Like I said, you start with the public, but it's not necessary you start with the public. It's not compulsory you start with the public, but it is necessary you use a public because you might want to extend or make use of this your class elsewhere. Now you use public, then you continue with the keywords class, then the name of your class, your class name. In this case it is what? Operation, arithmetic operation. Don't forget the curly brace bracket. I said you open curly brace and a close curly brace bracket. Now within this opening and close curly brace bracket is where our codes, our entire code for arithmetic operation is going to be written. Now don't forget to actually perform this. The first thing you must do when your class is created, not to forget, because like I said, for every Java class, the main method is the point where all your methods have been executed. That's the first point where the Java, the compiler compiles and executes your code. So without the main method, the compiler can't execute your code. Now in this case, we're going to write our main method, because once your